Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Caregiver Summer Virtual Training. My name is Enid Hurtado, and I work for the Kentucky Autism Training Center. Although autism is in our name, just know that the information that you will hear today pertains to any child who has communication challenges both expressively and receptively and may have autistic like characteristics. There is a resource folder for this session. Please use your phone and take it and get your camera option to scan the QR code. Or if you have another computer, you can just take a picture of this and then access the resource folder using that bit.ly URL that you see on this screen. All right, before we get started with the tip, I just want to establish some knowledge about communication. Some of you may already know this, some of you may kind of know this. So we're just going to make sure that everybody's on the same page before I share with you a really effective tip for supporting your children's communication skills. So, communication is a two-way street. I mean, we've heard this saying before, but what this really means is that there's the expressive side of communication, right? Which is what we usually think when we're talking about communication, being able to express your needs, your wants, your opinions. But then there's the other side of communication, which is called the receptive side. And that's the ability to process and understand what others are saying and remember it. Okay, so that is the key. So there's the expressive side and then there's the receptive side. And when both of those are working well, then communication works well. But if someone is having some communication challenges, it usually means that one or both are there's some type of challenges occurring, whether they're not able to express their wants, needs, desires, or they're not able to truly auditory process, is what they call them. So being able to process the information well enough to understand what it means, what the expectations are, what's going to happen. So, we're going to talk about some supports that will help be able to create a bridge of understanding when those challenges occur. And these challenges can happen to any of us, really. Anytime we're sick or anxious or exhausted, what communication is the first thing that goes out the window in the sense that our body is not able to communicate well, whether that means, again, expressively or receptively. So these supports can be used at any time with kids. I'd say with adults too, but when you see them, you'll see that as successful functioning adults, we kind of use these supports already to help ourselves out. All right, so today you are going to hear a few terms. I've already shared two of them, that's expressive and receptive. And then the other term you're going to hear me talk about is an evidence based practice that has a lot of research and, for lack of a better word, evidence that it is really effective for supporting students with autism or autism like characteristics and communication challenges in general. And this term is alternative and augmentative communication, or AAC. Now, if you've heard that term before, a lot of times the first time that many people have heard of it is usually in terms or reference to a device, like even an iPad with a software on it, or an actual dedicated device that is made for just expressive communication. AAC is actually encompasses it all, both the expressive and the receptive, and they use that through the two words that it's in its name: alternative and augmentative. So alternative is instead of some verbal expression or in addition to verbal expression, uh, and the augmentative is the receptive part to help with understanding of whatever communication is being uh, expressed towards this person. So, for example, what we're going to talk about today is communication pictures as an alternative to speaking. Okay, and schedules as a way to reinforce what words are being told to the student, especially during times when we're traveling in the car, which is now I'm kind of cueing you into what the tip's going to be. So, yes, if you haven't figured it out already, we are going to talk about communication in the car today and how providing these supports will help your child be able to not only understand where they're going, what's going to happen in the car, some of the information that gets missed or forgotten and can cause a lot of anxiety for children. And then the other part of the tip is how to provide support for communication or expressive communication while your student or while your child's in the car. Okay, one more thing though, before we go to that tip, which will be pretty quick when we get to it, is what if though a lot of parents and some professionals hesitate to provide these supports when children are so young, thinking that they'll grow out of it or that it's going to hinder their ability to be able to learn verbal speech or just language in general. So just know that there is established research from for many, many, many years, kind of basically debunking a few of these myths. So number one, introducing AAC will reduce an individual's motivation to improve natural speech and hinder language development, including the social communication. And it should be only introduced after the ability to use natural speech has been completely ruled out, saying that they physically cannot be able to use their mouth to speak due to physical challenges. And that is not true. As you can see in the research findings, and I'll let you, and you will have access to this PDF in your resource folder, so you can look at this in more detail if you like. But you can see that there is research showing that it does not impede the motivation for students or for children to be able to use their natural speech. In fact, if anything, it motivates them. It actually helps them because it takes away that anxiety, if you want to, for lack of a better term, that performance anxiety to be able to say the words or be able to use the right word. And when they're already having communication challenges and they've been corrected over and over again, there may be a lot of anxiety around that. So providing them with an alternative way to be able to speak or to be able to understand gives them that reliability, that reassurance that they don't need to be anxious to perform. They'll be able to use these alternative ways, and then that will make it easier for them to be able to learn the natural speech if they're physically able to do that. Remember that behavior is a form of communication, so they're already communicating with you. Even those challenging behaviors, that is a form of communication. So what we're doing today is we're going to provide some tips where you are teaching your child socially appropriate ways so that everybody can understand what they're expressing, and making sure that some of their behavior is not due to just an anxiety over what's happening, what's going to happen, where are we going, what's going to happen during the car ride. Why are we not, passing by the same sights out the window? Because they're paying attention, right? Even if they don't look like it. Why are we not passing where I think I'm going? So this is going to help with a lot of that confusion that can cause some of those challenging behaviors and just make riding in the car very difficult. Uh, the next myth is young children are not ready for alternative augmentative communication or AAC and will not require AAC until they reach school age, which school age is kindergarten is considered the beginning of school age. That is so not true. No, 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 no. So, because AAC is encompassing all the different types of ways to communicate, right? So, it's not just that device. It can be picture cards, it can be sign language, it can be holding up certain pictures or putting pictures on the refrigerator and pointing to the picture that you want to let them know what options they have. So, it can be a lot of different things, be facial expression. So, just that what we call multi-model, all these are covered under AAC, but it's just being able to use those things in a more structured way to increase the student's ability to, again, express themselves or be able to understand what's being told to them so they can be more successful in their environment. So you can see that there is some research from many, many years, starting, it looks like in 2000 and up to the last one was in 2015, showing research that has an evidence-based research, meaning that this research has been done over and over to ensure that the first time they did it was correct. to show that AAC use in preschool actually increases their ability to be able to use language. So even if they're not able to express it yet, they're learning sentence structure, verbs, nouns, how to use them, and so they're able to then learn how to write, in addition to being able to use it using whatever functional, expressive method that is works best for the student. So just know. So I just wanted to let you know those couple of that information, because I think that that will help you understand why these tips are so important to implement when your child is riding in the car. Okay, so superstar tip: communication in the car. All right, the first part of it is providing that information for the receptive part. So what is going to happen when we get into the car? Where are we going? What stops are we making? When will I get a snack? When, all those things, those are things that for them, are for the children, can be very anxiety producing, because they don't know what's going to happen. Again, so an easy thing to do is be able to put a piece of felt on the back of the seat that is in front of the car seat or the booster seat, and then put the schedule. So what places or what things will the child be able to access or be able to do during the car ride. So you can see here's an example right in front. I just placed the felt. I made that myself. And then you're wondering, well, what's the dog doing there, right? Well, you do need to teach this to the child. It's not going to come to them naturally, just like I'm explaining it to you. You'll need to teach them too. And what we've learned is that when children connect a new skill or a new format of with something that is motivating to them, like their favorite animal, topic, character, then they're more likely to use this new method. And so I put the dog on there just so that the child's looking at it. And so we know they're looking at the pictures. But additionally, you may put like little stickers on there with with a similar picture, or if you have a photograph, you may have something like that on top of the photograph. So we do recommend usually using photographs when you first starting using this, just because that's what most children are usually used to, and so there's no question what the meaning is, right? But there's not everything can have translated into photographs. So in that when that happens, then you can use pictures. In the resource folder that you access at the beginning, there are some of these pictures in there. If you'd like some more, you can always email me and I will put some more in there for you to use if you'd like. Okay, so where do you keep these pictures, right? Like, this seems like a lot going on. Well, you can just put it on a clipboard or put an envelope and put all these photographs and pictures in there, so that you'll have them ready. You will need some Velcro, because the felt only means the pictures only stick on on the felt when you have like the hard type of Velcro. So you may want to get some Velcro dots, or just, you may have Velcro just from using it in your garage or anything, to be able to put things up on a wall or keep them in the same place. So any type of Velcro you can use. You can use a piece of paper and put it on there. I also, if you have extra felt, you can just stick the felt on the clipboard. And then just put the pieces on there. I've seen it also where people put it on their shade, um, in the front, so they have access to the pictures and the kids don't, because if you have brothers and sisters, those pictures are going to be all over the place. So they usually keep them in a place where only the driver has access to them. So just do what works for you. And then remember, schedules in general are great for any challenging time, because a lot of times the challenging behavior has a lot to do with the student not understanding what's going to happen. It's the anxiety's going up. They don't know when they're going to get their favorite something, right? Have access to it, or their favorite time. Then they feel the anxiety of the parent because they're fresh, from the frustrated now, but everybody's frustrated. So a lot of times, if you when you're telling them, like, remember, we're doing this, then this, then this, and put your words in pictures. And again, you can use photographs of the places, because that usually works better, especially at the beginning. Um, if you put photographs, then it will help them remember that order. Because even if it's especially if it's a multiple step, but I was going to say, even if it's just one or two steps, there's so many distractions happening that it's easy to forget. So if you just have the pictures and just keep going over it and pointing to it, and then really reinforcing, really, provide some meaningful reinforcement. If your child likes high fives or tickles or jumps ups, when they're following this schedule, you just provide them with that meaningful reinforcement. And I actually have a video for you that you can watch on your own about meaningful reinforcement for this age group. And just know that I'm saying for this age group, but these strategies work. I've seen them work and being used by parents from preschool all the way up to high school. Okay, maybe the pictures change, maybe it's just words for some people after, for some kids afterwards, but in some form, this is being done in the car just to help with anxiety. Okay, the other part of this tip is now the other street, right? It's a two-way street. So if you provide something for receptive language, this one's the next thing is to provide some type of communication cue cards. Now, a lot of parents already know what their child's trying to communicate to them, right? Just by their facial expressions, or you learn all those things as your child is growing. But something that's going to set them up for success is to be able to use cards that anybody can understand, right? So you may want to start with some little communication cards, like their favorite things that they would get upset or wonder about during the car ride, like snack, drink, a book, the iPad. And just start with the simple ones and just tie it to their booster chair or to their chair, to their seat. And then this is something you'll have to teach beforehand, though. So you can play a game. You can, every time they get the right answer, you make a big deal. They get some type of reinforcement. So they want to use those cards. And again, this is going to help them empower them in a way, to you have a way to communicate with not just you, but anybody who's in the car. And there won't be any question about what they want. And then you can expand it to other words that would be helpful to you. All right. So, in teaching your child, we kind of went over some of these, right? The felt, place pictures depicting what's going on, place communication options in an accessible place, like the car seat. Um, you, I talked about how to use the communication cards by first starting with a game. That could be the same thing with the schedule, right? Just making sure they understand what pictures are depicting what place, kind of thing, just making sure it's meaningful. Sticking some picture of a dog or anything else that's really motivating for them so that it seems fun for them. In the resource folder, I did include a handout where it has all this information. And then right here, what is meaningful reinforcement? As you pull it up on your computer in the folder, you can click where it says click here to watch video. And there's a short video about meaningful reinforcement, because meaningful reinforcement is the key, okay, to teaching your children anything. If you can master that, you can teach your children the skills that they need, okay? And there's a couple of tricks to that, in the sense that there's some strategies that you need to follow and what if when you problem solve the reinforcement, because as we all know, not all reinforcement is reinforcing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but there's a reason for that. And so watch that video, and that will share with you some of the tips on how to use reinforcement meaningfully. And then if you have any questions, you'll see there's a QR code down here in the bottom right corner. Go ahead and scan that, and that will take you straight to a way to be able to contact me, and I can answer any questions that you may have. In case you didn't have a chance to scan the QR code for the resource folder when we first started this training, you can select pause now and scan it again. You'll find the PDF of the presentation, the handout, and some other resources that I mentioned during the training. You can also use the bit.ly and just type it into the URL of a new web page, and that will also take you to the resource folder. We also have two more QR codes for you. This is definitely voluntary, but it would help us out a lot. We are planning a caregiver summit for 2025. And so the first QR code is some questions about what would you like to have at a caregiver uh, summit. To learn more about your children or resources or anything like that. So go ahead and scan that code and that will take you to that survey. And then the QR code right below it is a survey asking you how we did today. How did I do with this training? Was there enough information? Did you learn anything? Those kind of questions. And then it helps us collect data about the resources that we're creating and send it over to KDE, which is responsible for our funding since we are a state funded agency. Again, thank you so much for attending this session. Feel free to watch it as many times or share it with anybody you'd like. And we hope to see you at the next session. Take care, everyone.